7C, presentation and discussion of capital improvement projects, updates by Water Resources and Edmond Electric.
Will Huggins, Water Resources. I lead the execution of the CIP for Water Resources, and I'm just going to apologize up front to Council Members Moore and Watterson. They've heard this presentation twice now, so they could probably come up and give it. This is just a couple nice photos of ongoing projects, one being at the water treatment plant. It's the OMB project, and the one being at I-35, 2 ground storage tanks that are going into place, and then the third one being the water treatment plant, O1C, which is the third phase of the expansion. That's an export from our 3D model that we've used as we've progressed looking at the design to help us with evaluating it and making sure that it'll actually operate well. So I'm going to give a quick overview, and then I'll touch on water, and then touch on wastewater. So about a year ago, we finished kind of a refresh of the CIP, just to update it and going into the rate study that we started this fall. To give you guys an outline of how it's kind of structured, we have major classifications, which is either water, wastewater, categories, which fall under renewal and replacement, regulatory, system enhancements, and then other. And then subcategories, which typically are going to be like citywide water main replacements, sometimes called neighborhood line replacements, work at the water treatment plant. So these just kind of give you a breakdown. I'm not going to read them all of kind of what falls in those categories. Like I mentioned, a renewal and replacement, you see water and sewer main replacements, a water treatment plant rehab project. And then under system enhancements, you might see new water mains that improve the resiliency, either being able to backfeed a portion of the system or increase capacity. And the same thing, system enhancements could be expansion of treatment plant capacity. And then regulatory, one prime example that we're going through right now is just compliance with the revised lead and copper rule, but also in the future, if there's any changes to our treatment plant permits as far as either water quality or wastewater effluent characteristics, they'd kind of fall under the regulatory category. So this provides just an overview of the 5-year CIP. That's a little over $650 million split between water and wastewater. Water is around 480, and then wastewater is around $178 million. And then this gives you an idea of kind of where we're spending the money in each category. There was a summary table packet that kind of provides a breakdown of this by year, and then also gives you a little more detail in terms of each project over the 5-year period. We're investing in renewal and replacement and system enhancements, and the system enhancements for water is a little skewed. We've put the third phase of the water treatment plant expansion in the system enhancements category, but about 40% of it is actually going to be aimed at replacing existing treatment capacity. The existing plant is 12 MGD and is reaching the ends of its useful life. So 12 MGD of the 30 MGD expansion is really going to be dedicated to renewal and replacement. So when you back that out, we're spending about 50% on renewal and replacement and about 50% on system enhancements. So the water CIP is the bulk of the CIP, and it's really front-loaded potentially in 2026 with the third phase of the water treatment plant expansion. I'm going to go into kind of a timeline in a little more detail later on in the presentation, so I won't belabor it here, but a big expenditure in 2026, and then dropping off with just some other master plan projects, and then continuing our water main replacement program. This table is kind of an export of the project information supplement that was in the packet. Really just focuses on the projects that are going on in FY 26, 27 in terms of they'll actually have capital expenditure. And then the phase is kind of there. We've got a handful that are in construction, some that are in bid and award, the 2 actually that were on the agenda tonight. We've got several in detailed design, and then there's a few that haven't been started yet that we anticipate starting later this year or early next year. With that, I'm going to take a second, catch my breath. I'm getting a little fast, but kind of go into the water treatment plant improvements because it's really driving the size of the CIP, which is large, but this is a high priority project, I believe, for City Council's strategic plan. It lays the framework for water supply and water distribution for the City of Edmond moving forward. Project drivers, like I mentioned before, maintaining existing capacity, but also planning for growth. 40% of the project, like I mentioned, is dedicated to replacing that existing capacity. And then there's a lot of numbers up there, but I think the main thing, I don't know if there's a, oh man. What did I do? Oh, okay.
Quit touching that one button.
Okay. So the flow number represents the max daily demand experienced by the system. So like you can see in 2012, it's around 21.8 MGD. That was the max flow that we saw going out. And then you can see in 2025, we were only at 22.1. So what we've seen active customers increase a lot. We've seen the per capita use come down. But what that flow number doesn't really show is that what we've seen is these peaks extend out for a longer period. We're seeing our high demand period stretch further into late summer, early fall, and start in early spring. So we're really reaching a point where we're doing a lot more with what we've had, and our plant operations staff and distribution staff does a great job of running the system efficiently, but we're really at a point where we need to make improvements to the water treatment plant. So the next few slides are really going to provide a timeline. It was helpful for me. I joined the city of Edmond in September 2024. So this kind of lays out, how we got to the point we're at with the water treatment plant. So in 2013, there was a master plan that was completed, really provided a long-term roadmap for water supply for the city of Edmond. It recommended transitioning to a higher reliance on surface water from groundwater and really protecting that groundwater source for drought conditions. And then also it identified that in 2013, the existing plant was reaching the ends of its useful life. So created a long-term plan to take the plant from 12 MGD to 65 MGD, which would cover long-term growth for Edmond. 2014 started preliminary design of the phase one improvements, and this phase one improvements was taking the plant, replacing the existing 12 MGD, adding an additional 18 MGD of capacity to get 30 MGD. It was going to be done in one phase and really utilize the existing footprint as shown on this figure. There'd be future phases, a phase two, which would take to 40 MGD, and then a phase three in the future would go to 65. So in 2019, the new control building was actually bid and award. It's a new admin building and control building at the water treatment plant. Bid out the water treatment plant expansion improvements project. The engineer's estimate was around $184 million. The low bid came in at just under $260 million. Decision was made not to award at that time, and the request was for Water Resources to look at a phase plan to implement the improvements and expansion. With that came kind of what we often call the O1A, O1B, and O1C, just for short, but it's really just executing this first phase of improvements in 3 different projects and replacing the existing plant and getting to 30 MGE. So with that, in 2020, they completed the design of the O1A portion of phase 1, which is really solids handling, kind of handles basically the solids that come from treating the water, what we do with that. So it covered solids improvements. It was around $38 million when awarded. Then in 2022, the new control building is complete. The final cost was around $8 million. And then the O1B project design is complete. It goes out to bid and award, and it's around $192 million. It covers a lot of core, like the new high service pump station, a new backwash tank, a new electrical loop system, new generator system. Kind of puts in a good chunk of how we actually will get the water out into the distribution system once it's treated. So in 2024, the O1A project is complete online, and then O1B construction's ongoing, and then O1C design is ongoing. And this is really the heart of the process improvements. This is where we actually treat the water from solids contact clarifiers to chemical treatment, whether it's pre or post. With that, we have a 3D campus model, and so I hope it shows up on y'all's screen, but what you're going to see is the overall water treatment plant campus and what it'll look like after all the phases are done. What we're seeing here in the white, those are O1B components. They haven't been fully textured and rendered. But on the south side of the site, which we're going to come up on, you're going to see, and I'll kind of walk us through it as it comes around the corner. So right here in the foreground, the white, this is GACs. On the far right, we're going past the filters. There's a new backwash tank right there. And then we have the new pigging station and pre-ozone injection. Kind of looks back on the north end of the site. And then we'll come back around and we'll see the filter buildings, we'll see the solid contact clarifier units. But the really cool thing, it creates a great video, but what we'll actually have at the end is a 3D model of everything below grade and above grade. So as we go in any future projects, we'll have an accurate record of what the water treatment plant is, and also allows us to go in through the model and look at what changes might do to the internal configuration. Can we still operate and maintain it? So that really brings us to 2026. The estimated construction cost for O1C is $327 million at the midpoint, $392 million at the high end. So as I mentioned, we kind of wrapped up the CIP update in the summer and went into a rate study in the fall, really looking at wastewater rates to support the CIP and operations, and then secure financing for the O1C project once that's complete. Next steps will be bid and award of O1C, and then finishing up the second phase, O1B, which we're estimating around $203 million, and then hopefully in 2026 start construction to lead us to 2030, where we've got O1C is complete, the new plant is online and sending water to the distribution system and the citizens of Edmond. This just kind of shows a summary of kind of the original plan, which was around $273 million, versus the revised plan of breaking it into three big projects for the process improvements, with a total cost of anticipated at around $578 million. The wastewater CIP is a bit smaller. It's about $176 million. A lot of wastewater interceptors, some rehabilitation work on some old infrastructure at the treatment plant, and then working on some lift stations. This is just the list of the projects. There's information in your supplement if you want to dive into detail. And then this is just kind of where we're going in the future. So we've got a really robust CIP database, and we're going to be looking at, we've created draft Power BI dashboards to help with communicating internally. And then the goal is to roll that to make it available to the rest of the city council, city manager, to kind of see where the CIP is at, where it's headed, and also have general project status available. And with that, that's the water resources portion. Any questions?
That's how you do metrics right there. I just wanted to point out for anybody who's not in the middle of all these discussions that the CIP term that Water Resources Group and Electric use here has zero to do with the CIP board and the CIP funds from that tax. It's coincidental, or maybe on purpose to confuse us. I don't know. Just kidding. That we all use CIP as capital improvement projects. So anyway, those are separate things. One has nothing to do with the other. Thanks, Will.
Any other questions? I know that's a whole lot, and I know two of you have been heavily involved in that.
Yeah, I guess I'll add, there's more to come with the rate study where we're going to go deeper into this. I think the intent here was just to sort of a lay of the land of all the capital things coming, right, for discussion, so that you all will have seen that and the public will have seen that going into the rate thing whenever we
So you're not asking me to eat the whole apple at once. You're giving it to me in pieces.
I'm not doing anything. I'm just explaining the approach here. Yeah. There's a lot to absorb here.
I do appreciate that,
Yeah.
because, I mean, this is a lot of information.
Yeah.
So,
Chris Knifing, Director of Water Resources. As fun as that is, there's a test at the end, so hope you memorized it. But it is a prelude, and if you all have questions and want to go over projects in detail at the workshop, please send those to us so that we can dive into more detail on whatever you want. I know we had some questions, brought some further detail. We can get in as much detail as you want or be at this level. I'll just say that whatever it is, we can bore you to pieces with details. We've got backup on all of it, so we appreciate your time.
It's not boring. I was on the edge of my seat. So thank you.
I think after 6 hours of us discussing projects and rates and stuff at Public Works Committee,
I like when you say dive in, but I don't want to get over our heads, or I don't want to be drowning tonight, so
Very
that's probably
punny.
good for now. You have to find some humor.
Thank you. Mr. Fisher?
Good evening, mayors and council. Glenn Fisher, Director of Edmond Electric. See if I pushed the right button here. Just to give you a little background, currently we serve our customers throughout Edmond with 8 substations. And out of those substations, we have multiple feeders going around town. We use those substations for 2 things. One, to feed the customers, like I mentioned, but second of all, to back up the other substation. We always want a secondary redundant source. So we try to do a lot of feeder work to make that happen. We're also looking at, within our next 5 years, 3 additional substations throughout the city of Edmond to serve our increasing load. Some of our R&R projects we got coming up, we started a project last year to look at our poles across the city. Of course, they tend to rot out at the ground level, so we've had a company come in, and we're going to do a 5-year cycle on these to test all of our poles. They're going to capture attachment information as far as AT&T, Cox, and other providers, so we can get an accurate count for pole attachment fees. And we'll do that. That'll be a 5-year program. We budgeted about $2 million a year for pole replacements after that. Some of those areas we'll look at whether it's convenient to take it underground instead of replacing the poles. So we'll be prepared for that. We have a continuing program on our substations to replace all the old relays. We've got some old electromechanical relays that are probably from the 60s and 70s in some substations. We've been replacing those over the last few years as we've been moving through the system. We'll continue to do that. I mentioned feeder circuit upgrades to support the capacity off of our substations. We started a program in 2016 to upgrade a lot of our transformers across our system, our substation transformers. So we have additional capacity there. We want to be able to take advantage of that on our feeders, so we're upgrading the capacity on a lot of our feeders throughout town. We budgeted about $1.2 to $1.8 million a year, depending upon the project. Road improvement relocations with the sales tax. I put a placeholder in there with that program to identify the key areas that the citizens are going to go through. Will help determine what that actual number is going to be. Give an example, $1 million would have covered Danforth and Kelly work. It would cover about 1/3 of 2nd Boulevard if we move forward on that project. We estimate that one's a $3 million project. So right now it's a placeholder throughout our 5 years, so we'll have to update that as we go forward. Substation projects, we got quite a few of them in the next upcoming years. First of all, Mitch, we are working on that one currently. We're replacing a transformer that failed in 2014. We moved a spare from the Hafer substation to bring that substation back up online. That's a great example of the need for backup feeder capacity because we moved all of that load off of that substation to other substations to continue to serve our customers. We're in the process of doing that right now. We just poured the pad for the new transformer, and we expect to complete that this spring. Garbage substation, we are adding an additional transformer there. Currently, that site serves the water treatment plant, but it will in the future be a backup for the water treatment plant. It also serves the Integris complex. It's one of the feeds for the water treatment plant, and of course serves a lot of East Edmond. So we're looking at that additional capacity out there for the continued load and also to serve as a long-term backup for the water treatment plant. It's part of the bond issue we did in 2025, and we expect that to be done sometime this fall. We're currently working on that now. One of the new substations is the Arcadia substation. I called it the Arcadia substation. I don't know if we need to vote on this or not, but that will be a dedicated substation for the water treatment plant. When they're have all three phases completed, they're going to have about 19 megawatts of load out there. One of our substation transformers serves about 25 megawatts. We plan to put in 2 transformers in there just for some additional redundancy, use that to serve some of the load in East Edmond, but primarily it will be a backup for the water treatment plant. We estimate that one at about $7 million currently. We are going to meet with our consultants this week, started kicking that process off to get a more detailed budgetary estimate on that. $4 million of that funding will come from community project funding that we received from Representative Bice's office recently, and thank her for that. The rest will be reserve funded. Coffee Creek Substation, we are in the process of working on this substation. It's a new 25 megawatt substation. We're going to use that to reduce the load on Mitch and Ketch and White substations, our existing substations. It's also going to be with some of the feeder extension projects we're going to be doing will help serve the downtown area as well. That was included in the 2025 bond issue. The design is complete. Well, actually, we started clearing land out there a couple months ago, so construction is in progress. We expect to complete that one early next year. The last one, new substation we're looking at is the Redbud substation next to the Redbud Elementary. It will be a new 25 megawatt substation as well. That's going to be dependent upon load growth in East Edmond. We estimate that one currently at $4 million. I think it'll be more expensive by the time we get to construction in 2030. We're going to start design this next fiscal year to have that ready to roll whenever we need that to meet load out in East Edmond. So with that, any questions?
Questions?
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. There was nothing in there that shocked you? Sorry, I had to just pick up on yours, so. All right, we've got nothing else to do on that item.